Welcome to another episode of the Unqualified Mrs. Cupid. This is your host, Mrs. Cupid, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think that a lot of people will be able to relate to, and that is getting over it. And by getting over it, I mean that almost everyone has that one person that once meant a lot to us, but that now it seems that they can only bring us trouble. How to deal with an ex who still wants me in her life. This was my first relationship. Listen, I know this is extremely long, but if one person out there could offer any advice, I would greatly and sincerely appreciate it out of the bottom of my heart. We were both in college, both in our 20s. She broke up with me, although at the time I agreed to it because I had realized that I wasn't making her happy in the relationship. We went through the usual post breakup motions. I realized what I had lost and asked for her back in desperation to no avail. A week later, she initiated a hookup after drunkenly thinking that I had moved on. As in, I am assuming, faster than she. Because although I was cordial to her during the party, I didn't bother talking to her like I normally had previously. I got my hopes up the next day that we might be able to work something out, and we met up to talk about what had happened. She admitted that she was angry because I had not paid her enough attention and apologized profusely for her drunk actions. After I realized she wasn't willing to make things work, silly me, I proceeded to drill into her and let my anger get the best of me. I told her the worst thing I could think of, that I regretted the relationship and walked away. I knew I would regret saying what I did, but all I could think of was how I wanted to inflict selfishly as much pain as I thought I was feeling in the moment onto her. Fast forward 2 weeks. I know, this is getting ridiculous. We saw each other at the library. We began talking. I apologized, and she said that despite how horrendously, rightfully so, I had made her feel after our last conversation, she still wanted me in her life. I agreed that I wanted to remain friends with her because, ready for the love of God, I'm still crazy about this girl. I told her that if we were going to try the whole friends thing, I would likely try to get back with her. She told me that she didn't want to hurt me in case things didn't work out. So I asked her to tell me right then and there that she was over me so that I could accept it and move on. She refused. And now this is where we stand. I asked her if we could take things slow, and she responded that despite associating me with nothing but pain, she still cared about me enough to want me in her life. I felt overjoyed right after because so what if we were friends? At least I got to see her and talk to her without feeling awkward. But typing this out, I'm realizing that the pain and hurt persists because I'm slowly starting to realize she is going to move on faster than I am. Especially because she has no problem being friends with me and still wants me in her life. And although we will still have some form of connection, it will never likely rekindle into anything past the platonic strand of our relationship. I know the obvious form of advice is to move on, but it's hard because we have so many mutual friends and neither of us are willing to sacrifice them or each other. What should I do? Continue playing the friend card even though it hurts me? Cut off all ties and possibly risk feeling worse because I'll choose to distance myself from these mutual friends? Well, I actually think that this is a very common case. I think that I will never stop counting how many times I have heard the story of if I cannot have you as a lover, at least I have you as a friend. And that is one of the biggest mistakes someone can make. As long as your feelings for the other person remains the same, there is no possibility a proper friendship will work. Because just as our OP in this post wrote it perfectly, she is moving faster than he is, and if they stay close friends, that means that he will see how she starts falling for someone else while he is still feeding those feelings for her. So what happens is that when you are still in love with someone and you are still in contact with them, you are still seeing that person as this wonderful being, and you're spending all of this time together and just admiring them and thinking of how I wish I could be with you. I want to still be with you, and I see you every day, and I think about this every day, and you are not giving yourself the time to learn how to be on your own and to prove to yourself that you can still be on your own. You can say to me, this girl will eventually find someone, and it doesn't matter if he's there or he isn't there. So, who cares if he is there to watch it happen? Some even might argue, if he's there when she starts falling for someone else, maybe he can finally understand it. But I don't think that's the case. I believe that if he is still friends with her when she starts falling for someone else, that will cause a lot of drama, much, much more drama in the friend circle if he just decides to cut ties with her and move on his own. And then, when eventually she is with someone else, then it will be easier for him to accept that, especially if there's no contact. Like, he will feel like he has no right. When that happens, maybe it will hurt, but it will definitely hurt less than if he keeps ties with her. Because there's another little tiny fact about this story that really caught my eye, was that when he asked her to tell him that she didn't want anything else with him and that he needed to get over her, she refused to say so. Where I am from, we have this little metaphor, and we call people like him a little candle. So, the concept of the little candle goes like this. I will use myself as an example so this doesn't get confusing. So, let's say that I have this person in my life who really likes me, really loves me, and I'm very aware of that. It's not a secret to anyone. Everyone knows that this person, this mysterious person, loves me, likes me, like they would do anything to be with me. And I know that. And, I actually appreciate feeling loved, feeling needed. I like the attention. I don't want anything like with this person. Like, I will never see them as something more than just my friend, like someone in my life. But I really like what they give into my life, and it's that love and attention that I don't plan in reciprocate. So what do I do? Well, I keep things friendly and flirty enough to keep this person right where I want them to. You know? And so that is my little candle. I leave that little flame turned on. So whenever the darkness of loneliness come at me and makes me feel miserable, I can turn to my little candle and they will make me feel better without any compromise. So I can go out whenever I feel ready back into the world and do as I please again. And I do believe that this girl, she might be holding on to old feelings still as well. However, yes, she is open to the next guy that comes her way. But, that happens. It's nice to have someone so she doesn't feel alone. And I truly do believe that this is what is happening to this poor boy. The worries for Opie is that they share friends and that he doesn't want to sacrifice those friendships because of her. And I really think that it doesn't have to be the case. I do believe that if he talks to their friends and explain the fact that, she no longer has feelings for me, but I still do, and I don't think that I can be close to her. I need some time, some time apart from her. And I would really appreciate if maybe we can meet each other without her there. Like maybe, yeah, you won't be able to hang out with everyone at the same time, without inviting her, because that might cause some drama, because she might find out that, you are planning all of these things without her, and she might feel hurt, and you don't want that, of course. But I do think that it's possible for you to still see your friends, maybe not all of them together at the same time, but you can still meet with them if you put the effort and talk to them. But I believe that if he talked to her and explained things To her, she might even understand that he will be seeing their friends and he might not invite her, but that's for the sake of maybe in the future be able to have some type of friendship or at least be cordial to each other in some time. Because another thing that was pointed out in the comments of this original post that makes a lot of sense as well, it's a really good point, is that whenever he has a girlfriend again, she won't be very fond of the fact that he has kept his ex-girlfriend a close friend. That will cause drama. Inevitably that will cause some type of drama in your relationship, especially because it again, I go back to the fact that she was like, you mean nothing but pain to me, but I still want you close to me and in my life. Yeah, it sounds like she just likes the attention. And I don't know, maybe she even likes a little drama. Because if Opie is being sincere and she was the one who started that drunkish makeout, then that means that she is using him for some kind of solace. It's like she doesn't need to be with him to get from him what she wants. And I don't know, maybe I am being too severe to this girl. Maybe she is just also having problems moving on. Like she doesn't want anything with him, but she's having problems moving on. And if that's the case, then with more reason, this OP needs to move on. And in the long run, that will be the healthiest thing that can happen to these two. These two seriously need time apart to properly get over each other and stop depending on each other to feel happy. Please help me. Ex tried to come back, but I have a new girlfriend. I thought I was over my ex because I no longer thought about her very much and was okay with everything. So I started dating again and I found someone I really like, and this has only been a few weeks officially. But a couple of days ago, my ex reached out to me and told me how much she misses me, loves me, and regrets everything. This was after 6 7 months of no contact, but now I cannot stop thinking about her and it feels very unfair to my new girlfriend and I don't know what to do. I thought I was over her, but I think I still love her very much and deep down I want her back, but I feel like the new girl is so much better for me and I don't think my ex has gone through any of the growth and healing I had to go through. I think that is very important to mention that the OP in these comments clarified that it was her who broke up with him. So I think that this is just another case of dumper's remorse. And what's dangerous about the dumper's remorse is that you don't know if you're going back because you truly love the person or because of the nostalgia. And nostalgia is a very powerful thing. Nostalgia is that thing, I'm quoting someone then I don't know who it is, but I know that I didn't came up with this. So if you know who said this, please let me know. I would love to know. So the saying goes, nostalgia is a very horrible thing that paints the past better than it really was. And I think that when a relationship ends and you are faced with this heartbreak and this pain, it's very natural for you to want to go back to a moment that you were happy, to a moment that everything seems to be all right. And here, our dear OP, he wrote that, he began thinking about her and that he thought that maybe he still loves her, but he feels bad about the girlfriend. And I really think it's worth to just stop and really think that if you really want to go back to that relationship, or if maybe it's just the fact that that relationship is something that you already know. It's something that is already familiar. You already know the person. You already know how things work out. You already know what you have to do to make this person happy. And so going back to the relationship seems easier. And it can come to play that you are in love with the past. You can be in love with the person that you were in that relationship more than you really loved the relationship. Because in this post, our OP mentions that he thinks this new girl is better for him. So I do think that this is a case of nostalgia. This is a case of I already know this person and I already know how I feel around this person. And it seems to be safer for me to go back to this relationship, to go back to the place that I know instead of moving on to someone new and just finding out what's in the horizon for you with this new person. It can be very scary to move on to new things. And there's always this little thing that will be inside you that will tell you, what if things do not work out with this new person and you let go of this person that you knew that you could be happy with because you were happy with this person once. And now all of this depends in every single person experience things, and there has been couples that have gone back together after a breakup and they ended up marrying and having happy lives together forever and always. But that's not always the case. So my advice, if you find yourself in this kind of predicament, is to really stop and think and meditate and maybe do a little exam of your emotions and of what you really want in that moment and what are you feeling. Again, like, do you want to go back to that relationship because of nostalgia or because you are sure that that person is the one for you and that you want them back with you? Now, in this post, again, as I repeat, Opie said that this new girl was like a better choice for him. And yes, everyone in the comments told him that this girl broke up with him and that she's just having remorse. And that if he has been able to move on and find a new girl that, again, makes him a better person, he should stay with her. And indeed, he got off all contact with his ex and remained with his new girlfriend. He decided that what he needed was exactly something new. My ex is ruining my life. Me, 21 male, and my ex, 20 female, had broken up in January because she wanted freedom and fun with other guys too. Also, she didn't want to commit this soon. So, we mutually broke up, and from that day, we still talk to each other just like we used to. The fact is, I can get over her. I just don't want to lose her. She says she loves me, but there cannot be a relationship. So after 4 months, I'm fed up of her treating me like an option. She comes to me whenever she needs any kind of help, and as I am a friend to her, I help her in every possible way that I can. But the thing is, she doesn't care about me and doesn't give a fuck. It's getting depressive to me, and I cannot handle the pain anymore. The only thing that keeps me alive is that she talks to me and sometimes makes me feel that she'll come back to me someday. Please advise me what to do in such a situation, and is it better to wait for her or just move on? Also, give some ideas so I can quickly move on. Thanks for reading. I'm new here and my English is broken. Sorry for that. In here we have yet another case of someone being the little candle for someone else. And I honestly do think that this guy is just holding on to that one little thing that it's giving him hope, because sometimes it's easier to stay where you are instead of trying to move on. And sometimes it's easier to stay in the same place holding on to hope instead of moving on. And what he is doing is that he is just clutching and grabbing and holding on to that little hope that she's giving him. And that is the fact that she tells him that she still loves him. She cannot be with him, but she still loves him and wants him as a friend. Again, do not fall for the old tale that if I cannot have you as a lover, I can have you as a friend, because as you see here, it doesn't work. This guy just explains that he cannot handle the pain anymore and that he just wants a straight answer. But the fact is that you already have your answer. It doesn't matter that she's telling you that she loves you, she's telling you that she doesn't want to be with you. So I know it's hard to hear it, but is it really worth it to wait for someone to want to be with you? Because I really think that, yes, love can be complicated, and sometimes you can love someone and you cannot be with that someone. But this is not a case of I cannot be with you. This is a case of I love you, but I love my freedom more. And some people are like that, and that's okay. But he just needs to let her go and move on and find someone that will love him and want to be with him at the same time. Because again, you can say that you love someone, but if you're not showing it with actions, then it kind of begins to mean nothing. What this OP needs to do is just focus on himself and let her go, because in this post he is saying that she makes him feel like she will eventually come back to him. And that is very horrible because I'm sorry, but if you truly love someone but you cannot be with them for one reason or another, maybe, yeah, because you're not ready for a relationship, that can happen, right person, wrong time. Of course, that can happen. But if you're not ready for that relationship or for that person, you need to let them go as well. If you love them, let them go, of course. If you love someone, you want the best for them. And if you know that you will not be able to make them happy, you also need to let them go. And here, this person is not doing that for our OP, and our OP is hurting. So, when it gets to a point where love causes you more pain than it gives you joy, it's time to move on. You cannot let the idea that love is painful and love will hurt get into your head, because I do think that a lot of people confuses this a lot. A lot of people think that love hurts. No, love doesn't hurt. Expectations hurt, hopelessness hurt. There are so many emotions that we confuse with love. And I really hope that OP indeed was able to block her and move on with his life, because the way that I see it, that was the only way that he would be able to actually find happiness and actually find someone who would give him what he wanted and what he needed. And now it's time for our last story of the day. My ex girlfriend is trying to ruin me. So I got out of a relationship early last year. We dated for a year. Almost a year in, I wanted to end it. She was mentally unstable, constantly needed reassurance that she was not a bad girlfriend. She'd blow up at me at random times and raise her voice. Nothing physical, but I felt trapped. In mid to late 2020s, I texted her that I wanted to break up. Not the best way to do it, but I was depressed and I just wanted out, so it just came out. She responded, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I said I just didn't want to be in a relationship at the moment, and so she freaked out, jumped in her car, and raced to my house. She rang the doorbell and spammed me with calls. This lasted for a while. I said I didn't want to talk right now, and she said fine, but we needed to talk very soon. Skip to an hour or two later. I invited her over to talk, and she was crying and upset. And so when I saw her, I felt really bad for her, and I got cold feet and just said I didn't mean it. After a while of persuasion, she was feeling better. I repeated this maybe 3 times more in a span of a few months. I would call her, told her I wanted to break up. She freaked out, cried, and everything till I retracted it. I admit that that was really dumb of me. I should have just ripped off the band-aid off. In January of last year, I finally broke it off. I did it in person and tried to explain to her why I didn't want to be in a relationship. It was winter and it was cold, so we talked inside of the car for probably almost 2 hours. I tried my very best to comfort her and told her that we could stay friends. She cried a lot and was pretty upset. At one point, I felt I said my piece and tried to get out of the car, and she said, "You're not going anywhere," forcing me to stay to talk to her for a while more. Eventually, she let me go back into my house. She wanted me to give her a goodbye kiss and a hug. I did it because I felt like I owed her. We occasionally see each other. She sometimes cries because we broke up during these meetups. I didn't really want to meet up with her, but I knew she would freak out if I broke contact with her. At this point, I really just wanted to move on and go along with my life. Skip to January of last year. She calls me up and is threatening to end being alive. I didn't want her to do that because I couldn't live with myself if she did it. I sat with her on the phone for hours trying to convince her not to do it. I contemplated calling 911, but eventually I convinced her enough not to do it. Over the next couple of days, she would call me upset and crying, and I would try to comfort her. I'm depressed and I feel trapped. I don't love her anymore, and frankly, she scares me. In late January of last year, I finally texted her that I think it's best if we go our separate ways. I tried to put it in the nicest way possible. I have an old iPad that doesn't have the block feature on iMessage. So, later, I took a look on that old iPad and there were several texts from the day. Ranging from okay, I also don't want to be in a relationship, I'm sure we can be friends one day, to I don't need you, you will be a distant memory. I looked at these messages thinking that she was finally going to accept it. But over the next several weeks, I get texts from random numbers and random accounts on Twitter and Instagram. One was like, you should get over me, even though I was over her. The last text I got from her, she said I abused her. I never laid a hand on her. She then mocked me and my family. She said she found another guy and she is going to be dating him soon, despite saying she didn't like people who rebounded. It was a pretty nasty goodbye text, basically. I never responded to any of these messages and just blocked all of the numbers and accounts. Over most of last year, I started getting paranoid that she would later try to ruin my life, get me fired, and ruin my reputation. The reason I kept thinking this was because during our relationship, she claimed she had an ex boyfriend who assaulted her. She looked him up and found where he was going to college. She sent the university an email saying her ex assaulted her. They wrote back asking if she had any proof. She had to concede and say she didn't. Over the later part of the last year, I started feeling better. Skip to recently. I'm scrolling on Instagram and I am suggested a profile by her I didn't block. She writes poems and posts them. One of them is about me. The title is my first name. She goes on to call me a monster, claims I assaulted her, and say my family blame her for her assault, despite my parents barely talked to her during the relationship. I'm feeling paranoid again. Should I feel this way? What should I do? Despite this being the longest story that I read here today, I have the shortest advice for this one. Keep evidence of everything. Keep every single text. Take screenshots if you need them. Make sure that you can see the dates of all of these texts. And what I mean that you should maybe take screenshots is that sometimes when you erased an account, the whole conversation on Instagram and Twitter disappears as well. So that's why you need to keep screenshots of absolutely everything and protect yourself. Talk to close friends, friends that can back you up, friends that can be there for you and testify in case you needed to. Because sadly, OP does need to worry because, well, it is very rare for people to come forward with false allegations. If this person already have a history of doing it, then yes, OP needs to take evidence of absolutely everything. Because this is scary, this is incredibly scary. And I mean, this OP can also try to get a restraining order because, uh, like cyber stalking is already considered a type of stalking. So if he can maybe prove that she had all of these accounts and everything, he might have been able to file for a cyber stalking case. But sadly, I think that he just blocked everything and erased everything that he had. But if you find yourself in a case where someone is cyber stalking you, try to keep evidence of everything. Try to not act upon it quickly and bring your computer to a police station and show all of that to them and show the proof you have that all of those accounts and numbers and whatnot are from this specific person. And I cannot promise you that it will work, but it's worth a shot. And I think that sometimes people forget that there's that option because there has been several cases where maybe if they try, they had a good chance of getting a restraining order for cyber stalking. And so that's literally the only thing this guy can do. And with that, we reach the end of this week's episode. I hope that you enjoyed your time with me because I surely did enjoy my time here. This was your host, forever yours, Mrs. Cupid.